Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Game for a Movie. This is a special episode as we are still quarantined indoors, so there's still no new movies or anything like that. So we decided to do a little, Cage-tacular is what we're calling it?
Cage Match, yeah.
Cage Match, okay.
Cage Match.
We have seen some Nicolas Cage movies as well as we've got some news, but first, I am your host, Mike B. Tank. I am joined by, let's go to Mitchell.
Mitchell. Hi, it's Andre with...
Hey, I'm back. Hey, guys.
And we have a special guest joining the show. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Nah, not really.
Okay, that's my buddy. That's my buddy Jason.
I was gonna call him J-Cat for the rest of the show.
Obviously taking over for T-Dog.
As opposed to T-Dog.
Okay. T-Dog.
Dude, I thought it was going to be the return of T-Dog. I've been waiting for this for weeks.
Dude, I don't...
seen T-Dog and feels like months.
I don't know where T-Dog is. We can play our...
He's hanging with Dorothy and Oz. We got out of town.
Do you have any other theories? Anybody else where T-Dog might be?
Let's see. Okay, so T-Dog is a very giving person. And when he heard about he heard that, oh shit, COVID-19 is changing everything, he decided to study medicine and try to figure this out. But then the murder hornets happened, and then he decided to go to Washington State and fight the murder hornets instead. And what he has since done is train praying mantises to fight the murder hornets, and so far he's been successful.
So,
yes.
T-Dog.
Yeah, hats off to T-Dog.
Mantises.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
I have 3 words for you. Man, bear, pig.
Man, bear, pig.
Man, bear, pig.
Guys, that's not real.
If murder hornets are real, I believe anything is real.
See,
Man, bear, pig defeat murder hornets.
Of course, for breakfast.
That's tough. I don't know, man. I don't think it's an easy one to chalk up.
See, I was gonna...
Murder Hornets defeat Chuck Norris.
Oh my god. Is it 2006?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Chuck Norris jokes. Don't make fun of me.
Wow, that was a low blow, Andre.
Jeez,
wow.
Andre.
They were already low to the ground. Man. God.
So, we will jump in. There was a bit of news, this week. There is a Tiger King miniseries coming out that Mitchell put us to, that kind of let us know this was happening. It was the first one reported to the Game for a Movie podcast, because cast as Joe Exotic is Nicolas Cage. Depending on how you feel about that, we've decided to jump in and cast our own Tiger King shows. And we've each taken about 3 to 5 people, 3 to 5 names, and just kind of come up with who we think they should play in the Tiger King limited series, given that we have a full budget, can get any star we want. So, shall we start with our special guest, Jason?
Sure. Alright, so the top 5 characters and their corresponding actors that should be played in this Tiger King miniseries that I'm putting together. First off, starting off strong, Joe Exotic should 100% be Danny McBride. Now, I know you think that's kind of like not the right choice, but imagine just fucking Kenny Powers with tigers. That's all you need.
I could see him pulling off the hair. That's where I'm seeing it for sure.
Right. Complaining. He just has to get a little more high-pitched in his whining, but it is perfect. I have faith that he can pull off the voice. I think it's a very doable voice. So.
I just imagine you going into a pitch meeting, Kenny Powers plus tigers.
Exactly. That's how Kenny Powers would do it. Okay, but then of course he needs his adversary in Carol Baskin, which no one should be playing Carol Baskin other than Kate McKinnon. Kate McKinnon as Carol Baskin is just comedy gold. She will give you that dry little like, good morning, cats and kittens.
Jason, what if I were to tell you that's actually happening?
Oh, I know that's actually happening.
Okay, good. Okay.
But not in the Nick Cage one.
Not the Nick Cage one, it's in the competing series, you're right.
Right. So I am
didn't know there were two of them.
I did not know that there was two. What? Oh,
Yes, there are 2 competing series.
wow. Jeez.
Who's doing the other one? I actually don't even know who's doing the Nicolas Cage one.
CBS is doing the Nick Cage one.
Yes.
CBS.
TBS, okay.
CBS.
Then the other
TBS with the T.
Oh, TBS.
No.
Like,
CBS. Like,
C as in, yeah.
Station. I wonder who's doing the Kate McKinnon one. HBO.
I think that one's a movie, so probably like a studio.
Okay, that's a movie.
Okay. Oh, well then, yeah, it's a romance. Okay.
Moving on, Jeff Lowe, the world's most blatant con man in the world. Pretty sure that one's going to end up being Jonathan Banks, known as Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
there you go.
That's a good call.
I like it.
Huh. That's a little harder than wow. Oh, but I see it. I like it.
Oh yeah, he'll make you fear for your life in the same way that Joe Exotic did.
Right.
And then for Doc Antle, I mean, literally as I watched Tiger King, all I could see was Will Ferrell. So, like, I'm going to have to slot Will Ferrell into there.
Okay.
Okay.
And then last just because in pre-production, I said this was the perfect casting. Saf, the tiger handler with one arm, will be played by Michael Pena, because Michael Pena will be super chill about having only one arm.
So are we just like crossing genders right here, or is it just...
Saf identifies as a man. So
really?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, did not know that.
If you would have been on time, you would have heard this.
Oh, okay. Well, I was on time, Andre.
Hey, man.
I seriously moved my schedule back.
Oh, nice.
That's either here or there.
We can blame Andre for that one. He did push us back.
Yep. That one's on me.
Way to go, Andre.
And because of that, Andre, you guys get to follow now.
Oh, sweet.
Hell yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, all right. This is like more of a collaborative effort between Joe and myself. So, I mean, honestly, for Joe Exotic, I mean, as much as I love Nick Cage, I really gotta feel like we gotta listen to the big man himself on this one. David Spade kind of lines it up for us really well. I gotta agree with Joe himself.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
And like, what is he busy? Like, I just don't get. Like, what is he up to?
He's making copies.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's got his own show.
He does?
Yeah, like Lights Out with David Spade or something like that.
It was canceled years ago.
No, it's still going. I'm throwing my challenge flag on that one.
I'll look it up.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Next for Jeff Lowe, our take on it is Woody Harrelson.
Harrelson.
Yeah, I wrote Woody Harrelson. Harrelson. Sorry, Woody.
Jason, when did you say that show got canceled?
March 12th, 2020.
You motherfucker.
Years ago.
Yeah, that got canceled years ago. No, seriously, in quarantine, it does feel like years ago.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson is Doc Ansel.
I don't say. No, it's
Jeff Lowe. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
For our Doc Antle, originally we had Patton Oswalt, and then I joked about Paul Dano.
I feel like Paul Dano fits.
Paul Dano.
Yeah.
Put him in the wave. It would be wonderful.
I can see him melt into
They
that
can
role.
gain like 30 pounds.
Yes.
Why not?
There's going to be a lot of heavy makeup. But...
Paul Dano's a weird guy. I think he'd be down. He's a Swiss Army man. Like he's clearly in touch with his avant-garde side.
Right. And I've only seen what's it going?
Lights Out with David Spade on April 3rd. Comedy Central said it would not air new shows on its network, although the network has stated it will attempt to sell the show to a third-party network.
So
boom.
So his
you said years ago.
We have two more. For Rick Kirkham, the dude who decided to give Joe a shot at actual stardom. Andre suggested.
Gotta be Willem Dafoe. I feel like I could see it.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And then last but not least, starring as Tiger number 1, Andy Serkis.
Yes.
Not just Tiger number 1, all the tigers.
All the tigers.
And the Tiger Cubs too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cubs, the bears,
the tiger that Carol Baskin fed her husband to.
I was going to say that.
Nick Cage handing a tiger to folks as they come visit the park, and it's just Andy Serkis.
That's carrying.
Yep.
Mitchell, what do you got on your list?
Well, I didn't construct a full list, but I did have Willem Dafoe as my Joe Exotic. And
Oh.
something that me and Kelly had talked about. It's that's the thing. About casting anyone in this world, you have to immediately buy, okay, this person is crazy enough to exist in this world. And for whatever reason, his filmography probably explains it all. Willem Dafoe has that kind of baggage that would absolutely work in his favor in this case. If anyone has not seen The Lighthouse and see exactly how batshit he could be, I highly recommend it, though it is definitely a unique watch that isn't for everyone. So, Willem Dafoe, who'd you guys cast him as? In what role?
As Rick Kirkman, he was the producer guy who was trying to make rich off of
Oh, for real. You know what?
The super deep throat.
Yeah.
My thing is, I don't think people gave that guy enough credit for being crazy. Because everyone, I think the way the documentary framed him, he's like, oh yeah, I'm just this outsider who's trying to profit off this dude's craziness.
It's not my fault
that living in this world. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I felt like he was as much a part of it as everyone else. Anyway, but Willem Dafoe needs to be in this fantasy project that we're putting together. Jeff Lowe, and it's only because of the dumb hat and like the do-rag or whatever he's wearing underneath it. When I was watching it, I got glimpses of Fred Durst, the lead singer
Oh, there you go.
of Limp Bizkit.
Oh, God.
Fred Durst.
I was thinking Fred Durst the entire time. Like, that is his fashion icon.
Fred Durst had a movie.
Yes. Oh, my God. Yes.
Fred Durst has a movie?
Yeah. It was terrible.
Oh,
He's got a
my
few films
God.
over him.
Yeah, it
Okay,
came out, not that long ago, but yeah, keep going.
Okay, my goodness. And then, because everyone's doing such a great job of filling out this world, I don't think we've cast Howard Baskin yet, who is...
Howard.
Yes, Howard, who is the living husband of Carol Baskin.
Living.
It's a very notable thing. Again, just purely based on looks, and not because I want to employ this man to be in a film. This is completely done on his looks. It is Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. They got the same droopy-ass face.
He does look like Mitch McConnell.
Wow. Howard.
The thing is that I think Howard very clearly loves his wife a lot, and I just can't imagine McConnell loving another human being at all. I can't see that.
Wait, he can't show that emotion?
Yeah, right.
Doesn't have the range.
Yes, exactly. But he does look like him. That's crazy. Wow, I didn't even think of
I just
that.
had a thought. Why is no one casting Tommy Wiseau as Doc Antle? He got the long hair. Just throw him in.
This is people we want to see in a movie.
Where is Doc Antle from? Where is Tommy Wiseau from? It's a perfect marriage.
You're right.
No one knows. That's a beautiful part. And one more note on my casting list, going back to Joe Exotic. So to get my wheels turning on, okay, who would I cast as Joe Exotic? I threw his mugshot into one of those websites that tells you what celebrity you look like.
Oh, there you go.
Can you guys guess which very famous and very good actor that Joe Exotic allegedly looks like, according to this website? No, not Leo. It is a beautiful young man, not Brad. Ooh, my heart would melt. It is one Ryan Gosling.
Oh my God.
Joe would be so honored.
And I'm sure Joe is just like, oh, they nailed it. Like, that is exactly who he wants portraying him in a film.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Mike, finish us off. Who do you have in your fantasy Tiger King cast?
So I have to turn off my video because I'm using all of my services to have this call and record us. So you guys can't see me anymore. But Carol Baskin, I have as Lisa Kudrow.
Okay.
Yes.
It's just one of those ones that I feel like fits. Plus, I mean, Smelly Cat could make a reappearance somehow, some way, easily. Jeff Lowe, only because of season 1 of Fargo, I have Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Wow. You know what? That's a guy I have not thought about in a while.
Yeah. So I was like,
totally see that.
I was looking up.
Yeah.
I was looking at people that could pull off like white facial hair, and for some reason Billy Bob Thornton was in there. I don't know.
I think Billy Bob Thornton belongs in that movie somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Mike, did you Google that phrase?
Yes.
Guys who can pull off white facial hair?
Badass actors with white facial hair.
I'll allow it.
That was the exact look, because I wanted somebody like intimidating, but like the idea. Billy Bob Thornton wasn't like physically intimidating. He just came more so with he's softly spoken going to murder everybody.
Oh, just like Buffalo.
Yeah. Soph, I actually jumped on board with this. At first I was kind of like, no, but now I'm kind of like, okay. Ken Jeong. I don't...
Okay.
Alright.
Wait, Ken Jeong is who?
Dr. Ken as Soph.
That's soft.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a weird one, but I kind of like it. I don't know. It's strange. Somebody pointed out that John Finlay looks like Shia LaBeouf, and I couldn't unsee it.
Yes! Oh my god.
I'm sorry, who?
Meth
Meth Mouth. Yeah. Oh my god.
I love this movie.
And
I would honestly.
And especially when like he cleaned up too, so he got like clean for the 8th episode that came out with the interviews and stuff, and he looks a lot better, and he could pull off Shia LaBeouf pre-Meth Mouth.
Did his hair grow back? Because
Yes.
they showed footage of him younger, like some time beforehand.
And he had like long hair too, like it wasn't just like a little bit. And then finally, the guy's name is James Garretson. He's famous for the jet ski. And I say that is Mark Davis, owner of the Raiders, 100%.
It looks like I need to show you a picture.
I know you did.
Yeah,
you showed me when we watched something.
The Nick Cage movie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the spitting image.
It is the spitting image.
We have no idea how his acting chops are, but you just got to bring him in.
Why not?
It's
Whatever.
he's probably like terrible, but so was James Garretson, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that's my list. We will probably do something about our list on our Instagram. Follow us, Game for a Movie. So now we jump into our Cage match. All of us saw at least 3 Nick Cage movies. And the question was, is Nick Cage a good actor or a bad actor? Because he falls on that line in between, where he does something good, where he wins an Oscar, and he does something terrible, like he's in Humanity Bureau.
God damn it. Why would you bring up that cursed film?
Because
That was the first bad movie I watched for this podcast.
it's all coming full circle. That's what I wanted to do.
Yep.
So, yeah, let's start. Who wants to start? How about that? I'm just gonna.
Do we want to start good or bad?
Yeah. Well, we can start, right?
Yeah, sure.
So Jill and I, we just watched Matchstick Men. Have any of you guys seen or heard of that movie at all?
I've heard of it.
I have not, no.
Okay. All right. So it's like an early 2000s film. It stars Nick Cage and Sam Rockwell, and they're both con artists. So Nick Cage has an extreme, obsessive compulsive disorder, super particular about everything, and just Sam Rockwell is kind of his right-hand man, and they're just really good at conning people out of their money through just all sorts of Ponzi schemes and stuff. And then Nick Cage basically finds out that he has an estranged daughter, and through that kind of turns over his whole entire very particular orderly life while living while trying to con people out of it. And it's kind of, I don't know what genre I'd call it. I would call it
black comedy.
Black comedy?
Is how
Okay.
it's described online.
Yeah. Okay. I would say what did you think about it?
I actually really, really liked it. So I had no idea what this was going into it. And as Andre was saying, Nicolas Cage is this con artist who discovers he has his daughter. And for a good chunk of the movie, it's just kind of him bumbling around and trying to figure out, how do I interact with this being that's come into my life, who's touching my stuff. I don't know how to deal with this. And as the movie goes on, the daughter, who's 14 years old, she's getting more and more curious about what he does for a living, because he's also trying to have a side hustle on the side.
Right. The plot is they're
doing
working their biggest con yet, basically.
So she's like, what do you do? I want to learn. Teach me how to do something. So he kind of shows her some of the ropes of how to do a con. And all this builds up to the climax of the film, which I described as being like Shutter Island, but not that it's revealed he is crazy the whole time.
Okay.
Right. It's weird, but...
Spoilers for Shutter Island, guys.
It's kind of tonal whiplash, but I really enjoyed it, honestly. And I guess the key part is Nick Cage in this movie is great.
Yes.
It's peak Cage, and it's peak good Nick Cage, I would say.
Okay.
He has all these nervous tics that he sells it. But also, I mean, in those emotional scenes where he's connecting with his daughter, it's like, okay, I believe that relationship, and how he's struggling to humanize and relate with her, in both an entertaining, like kind of funny way, but also like an emotional way too. So, I should say this is a Ridley Scott film, right? So
this was a Ridley Scott.
Oh, nice.
But
there's
there's some weird scene transitions. Like there is a flip transition at one point in this movie.
Right out of PowerPoint.
Yes,
Give me the flip transition. I want all of it.
Yeah. It was just in the middle of the movie, and I'm like, what? And they never do it again.
Nope.
It was very disorienting.
My personal favorite is at the end, everything happens, and then it cuts to a year later. So they have the text due 1 year later, but it slides and
bounces on the side of the screen, and it's like, what?
It comes out of nowhere.
God, yes.
Like you have the weird flip transition, and then you have some other really good transitions where like going down a dark alleyway and it pans over, and suddenly it's a new shot. That looks really good. But then they do weird amateurish style transition.
Right, and I feel like I want to say it's on purpose, but it just feels out of place.
It feels like it has to be on purpose, right?
Right.
Unlike Iron Man 2, this did not waste its Sam Rockwell.
Yes, Sam Rockwell's great in this movie too.
Nice.
It's really it's a good film. Andre said that it has developed a cult following.
Okay.
Not cult following, but like it's done very, very well after its release.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert liked it a lot. He gave it 4 stars. I don't know if we care about Roger Ebert. But this was quite enjoyable, and it was kind of weird to watch it after watching Trust, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of similar that he plays
It's a similar kind of role.
He's
You're
trying
right.
to get a score.
Yes. He's
right.
trying to get a score, and he's obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, long story short, fun movie, fun concepts. I would recommend it, but
maybe 15 minutes too long.
Yes, a little over long. So
now all this sounds like it's great about the movie, but what does Nick Cage do for it in terms of acting?
You got facial tics.
Yes.
You've got like face contortions. You have a whole montage of him cleaning his apartment, including a scene of him scrubbing something with a toothbrush.
Yeah. Like the neurotic, he plays that neuroticism so well. I'm not saying he's the only actor who could do it, but he's one of the few that I could believe it.
Yep.
Right. So he's got it's the combo of being neurotic but also still likable. It's like, oh, Nick Cage, what are you doing, man? You're crazy.
Rascal.
Yeah, exactly.
You little scamp.
Yeah. So on that note, whatever. We'll save it for Trust, but like it was that similar level of like, okay, this dude is fucking crazy, but
he can pull it back suddenly. Okay. It's like, oh, you're totally normal. Yeah. And then he'll turn around and suddenly the eye is twitching and he has like a stutter. It's very impressive what that man can do with like the control of his body and bring out the crazy and then pull it back and then bring it out even more.
So I would say evidence that Nick Cage can be a good actor when he wants to be, I guess. Mm-hmm. I would give this one like 3.75.
Tons of Ben and Jerry soup. Super chunked fudge.
Yeah, super New York fudge chunk buckets out of 5.
Such a big bucket of ice cream.
Lots of ice cream.
It's like that big.
Yeah, there you go. That's my rating, Joe.
Yeah, no. I would give it 3.5 dog head statues.
Okay.
All right.
Out of 5.
All right.
Yeah. Matchstick Men.
Okay. Jason, we'll go to your first one.
All right, so I'm supposed to talk good now, right? Like the good movie that I watched?
You can talk whatever you want. I'm going to finish it off with the bad movie because, like, it just...
Okay.
Yeah.
So firstly, I want to point out 2 facts about Nicolas Cage to kind of set the scene here. first off, Nicolas Cage's real name is Nicolas Coppola, as in Francis Ford Coppola, the legendary director.
Right.
Yep. Second off, Nick Cage has notorious tax and legal and real estate issues.
Yep. That's why he exists.
Part of the reason that he does all these movies, it's kind of like his gentleman's agreement with the IRS. Like, this is his means of making money, so he legally, according to the IRS, has to basically accept every movie offer that gets handed to him. So that's why when you see a garbage-ass movie and it's starring Nicolas Cage and you know it's going to be garbage, he has to take it.
Yes.
Having said all that, I level set with thinking, like, Nicolas Cage will go neutral to begin with, and then let me actually watch a movie and decide for myself. So I wanted to go with something that everyone loved to start with, and I was going to watch National Treasure. However, my wife had already seen National Treasure, so instead we had to watch National Treasure 2.
Oh, no.
I love the second one. It's got more Riley.
Okay. Let me tell you. National Treasure 2 is a movie that is so horribly written that Nicolas Cage couldn't do a better job with it. There's literally one scene where, like, these French police stop and just, like, have a nice chat with them as they're, like, vandalizing a statue. Because, like, they're French, and apparently that's what they do.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage in those movies plays a man with Asperger's who has, like, an obsession with American history. Like, the entire movie is Nicolas Cage, like, hearing one word and then going, ah, and then telling a 5-minute story that could have been told in 2 words about history.
It's true.
And neuroticism and, like, acting, it's, like, peak to the point where it's just campy. Like, you can't take it seriously after the first 5 minutes. Like, the first time it's like, oh, this guy saying my great-great-grandfather is a murderer. You know what will solve this? A treasure hunt.
We're gonna prove this with this treasure in Mount Rushmore.
Like,
Yeah, but, like, you know, the first movie's selling line was, we gotta steal the Declaration of Independence.
I get that, but having said that, like, literally the thing that starts this plot is, like, Ed Harris comes along and says, hey, your grandfather actually, like, plotted to kill Abraham Lincoln. And he's like, nuh-uh, treasure hunt. And, like, the dumb thing in the end was, like, Ed Harris, like, when they find the treasure, he goes, this was my plan all along. Sorry to, like, throw your ancestor under the bus, but I needed you to find this treasure. I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't you just ask him to help you find said treasure if you knew about said treasure?
Would you say that Nicolas Cage in this one comes off a bit more bored with everything that's going on? Or is he still giving, 110%?
No, that's the problem. He's giving the 110%. That's why he's a man with Asperger's who's obsessed with American history. Because literally the scene, like, where he's talking to the French policeman, the clue couldn't be more obvious, right? Like, the clue is basically, like, something, something, resolute, something, something. And, like, when I heard that, my first thought was, oh, resolute desk. Like, it's the desk in the Oval Office. And he's just like, oh. About how the resolute desk was made in front of, like, these 2 policemen and Riley, and like, all you could say was, oh, shit, that's easy, that's the resolute desk. But Nicolas Cage just, like, sells it so hard that it's painful to watch.
He's too good that it makes it worse? Or...
Yeah, well, he's trying so hard. There's one really good line he delivers, so, like, spoiler alert for a movie that's 10 years old. There's a scene at the end where, like, they're in the Golden City and it's filling with water, and he's, like, gonna self-sacrifice, and he tells his, like, wife or girlfriend or whatever, like, you make sure my parents get out of here. I'm like, all right, that's a good one. And then he literally runs for the door. And, like,
gonna make it out there.
Flies past, like, that whole self-sacrifice thing. He's like, yeah, I'm leaving now. So, in the end, I would give National Treasure 2 Book of Secrets 2 out of 5 resolute desks. two resolute desks.
I mean, I think that's fair. The
Yeah.
first one is just such a freak of nature. Like, it should not be as good it is, but it's such a fun ride.
It's,
You could not have left it straight.
The first one is literally like your American history class in high school come to life. The second one's like, I should have graduated a year ago.
It's Da Vinci. It's the Da Vinci Code,
Yes.
but for kids.
Yeah, right.
Well, I was gonna say it's like watching Bill Nye the Science Guy. Like it's a little out there and goofy, but like you still learn a little something.
Yeah. Bill Nye meets Ken Burns.
Yeah. So Mitchell, what do you got for your first one?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the movie where I had been meaning to watch this for a long time, so selfishly I used this task as an excuse to finally fire it up on HBO, and it's Raising Arizona. So it's one of the earlier Coen brother movies. Only one of the Coen brothers actually directed, the other wrote, so it was a true collaboration in that sense, one pair the other, and it is a farce of a movie. So for those who don't know what the plot is about, it is about a couple who meet because the man is a guy who gets arrested a lot, and he falls in love with the police officer who keeps booking him into jail. The police officer is played by Holly Hunter, and the guy getting arrested all the time is Nicolas Cage. And this movie opens with what I think is such a solid 11 minutes of just a great, fun montage filmmaking of a very brief story, not too dissimilar from Up, of how a couple meets and starts a new life together, but maybe not as emotionally stirring, but still very entertaining. And what a fucking way to open a movie. The first 11 minutes for Raising Arizona. So after they meet, the plot actually begins. Holly Hunter cannot bear children. They desperately want kids. Well, luckily for them, a very rich family had a newspaper article written up about him for having quintuplets. So what they decide to do is to go to this very rich family's house in the middle of the night and steal one of the kids for themselves. Yeah. So thus Raising Arizona. And Arizona is the last name of the kid. Anyway, so that's what it's about. It stars John Goodman as well, Frances McDormand, so the start of their Coen brother relationship as well. It is, like I said, it's a farce, so all of it is over the top. That's how the comedy is written, and the music in this, the music and the dialogue in terms of how over the top these guys are speaking and looking into the camera, it's exactly what this movie calls for, and Nicolas Cage is perfect casting here. And he's a guy who is basically overreacting to every single scenario possible. Like if you're presented with a problem, my wife is barren, right? What are some solutions here? You could adopt a kid, which they try to do, but he has a really bad rap sheet, whatever. There are a lot of other ways that a couple could figure out, hey, how do we fill this hole in our family?
Like, and third idea I had was steal a child.
Yeah, that's pretty high, Mike. That's very high on the list. And for Nicolas Cage, that was number 2. So anyway, he went up and stole a kid. Very entertaining, and mainly because of what the Coen brothers are asking of each of the performers, and no one does it better than Nicolas Cage in this particular role. And I think, Andre, Jill, you're talking about a certain look in his eye in certain scenes in Match Point, or what was the film?
Matchstick Men.
Matchstick Men. Yeah, Match Point is a different film directed by Woody Allen. Okay, and anyway, that is exactly what Nick Cage is known to do. And this is kind of in his wheelhouse. The more I look back on movies that I actually enjoyed him in, and not necessarily just watched for this podcast, but I'm looking back and thinking to certain monologues that he has. And it's all this over-the-top stuff, but somehow, and guys, I'm kind of showing my hand here, somehow he pulls it off where other actors who would go over the top like that would never be able to pull off. And that is why I'm really leaning towards the good actor part here. And it's really dependent. As Jason was alluding to earlier, he has IRS trouble. He has to take these roles. But if he's matched up with very talented directors, he's worked with Spike Jonze in the past, he's worked with the Coen brothers, there are many films that have great reviews and receptions from general audiences, and he shines in those because those directors actually know how to use them.
Nice. So what would you give this?
Raising Arizona. Oh my God! If you're a Coen Brothers fan, it's easily a 4.5 children. Oops, out of 5 total kids. And I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. So 4.5 out of 5 for me. It's all the fun of Fargo, without any of the murder. So the stakes are a little lower, but you get fun dialogue, fun accents, and guys, I cannot tell you how much I appreciated this. This movie ended in 90 minutes, and it felt so great.
Nice.
Let me tell you. So Raising Arizona, 4.5 out of 5 from me.
Nice. I do want to kind of wonder, though, and I have to look this up, could Nicolas Cage direct himself?
No way.
Probably. No. I don't think he has it in him. Like, I know he can't write, and I'm certain he's produced things, but I don't think he could do, like, a director-actor moment.
My thing is, I don't think, and I know there's a lot of actor-directors out there, but for those who could really pull it off, I don't think there are really many who can. Mm-hmm. So, to be fair, he has directed himself in one film. I'm just looking it up on IMDb. It's called Sunny, and it stars James Franco.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's also in it. So anyway, that is a movie that he directed in 2002.
All right.
Gotcha. 2002. Okay, that's like baby James Franco.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Look at those tight jeans. Everyone, go look it up.
Oh my gosh.
I can see James Franco being a contemporary of Nicolas Cage, but in like a different way.
I mean, that's like Spider-Man James Franco.
Yeah. Mike, what do you got, man?
So, well, I will talk first about the one we all watched together, except for Jason. Sorry, buddy.
Are we really saying sorry, buddy, to Jason here?
Yeah,
I feel like Jason got off the hook.
Yeah, I guess so. We did another Netflix party and watched The Trust, which was Nicolas Cage, obviously, and Elijah Wood. They play 2 cops who find out there is like this treasure trove of money that they can get to and like get the score, you know? And the whole movie kind of takes place in like one house trying to get underneath it to get to this safe, which has all this money and everything like that. And like it's the things that go wrong and people that live there. And how would you guys describe this movie? The way I described it is Nick Cage is doing the best he can with what he's given, which is not very good.
I would describe it, I'm sure if you read that script, you would think to yourself, oh, cool, this is like a fun neo-noir kind of movie. You know, this is the Vegas underground, and these are 2 crooked cops. One of them really wants to get rich quick, and the other is just kind of going down this trail with him begrudgingly. But then you put it on film, and it is a completely different story.
Yeah.
It is a mishandled plot, and everything. Jill, you had a really good critique after we watched it, and you said, did what Nicolas Cage did in particular at the end, did that twist feel earned? I feel like you could ask that question about a lot of the plot development. Like, are we able to actually get to this point? Does this really make sense? And I'd argue it didn't at all. And it's not up to the actors, in my opinion, but that was a rough watch. It was a rough watch.
The unfortunate part was that it wasn't bombastically bad. You know, I'd honestly say we should watch Humanity Bureau first over Trust. You know, if I was going to get some friends together and watch a bad movie,
right?
Its faults are more just kind of dull. You know, the pacing just doesn't feel all the way there. I wasn't super attached to Nicolas Cage's or Elijah Wood's character. It's like, okay, all right.
I was totally okay if both of them died.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't really, I was like, oh, man, Nick Cage is in too deep, and Elijah Wood is being kind of a shithead about it, but he's going along, like, okay. He cares about the girl now, all right, cool. You know.
He was the naive one. I kind of felt like it was 2 different cop stories stitched together, or that, like, Elijah Wood didn't have half the script. Like, when his character, because, like, his cop character is not inherently crooked. Like, he doesn't like his job. Who doesn't?
He pays for sex.
Following along, the senior cop. And he's kind of... He pays for sex. And, like, you know, the light bulbs are starting to go off in his head, but he's not really... He's thinking that what they're doing has a purpose for the greater good, that they're going to break into this safe and determine, yes, there are drugs, I think is what he thought there was down there or something.
Right,
and then
that
they're going to run and tell the rest of the Bureau.
And get a promotion.
They'll get a promotion.
Yeah.
Right.
And as things are starting to go down, you can see, like, the wheels turning in his head. At the same time, there's still kind of this, like, dude, you're not that dumb. Like, come on.
Yes.
Right.
This doesn't seem weird to you. So, like I said, it's his character, like, the actor was missing half the script. And Nicolas Cage is in the corner, like, holding it, and like, hee, you have no idea what's in store.
Yeah.
And then pacing issues, I agree. There's at least, like, a whole section where, like, they're doing the break-in, and they stop to eat some cheesesteaks.
Right.
And have a conversation while they have a live hostage.
It was,
Do
so,
they really have time for this?
the way I would describe it is kind of like, it was a slow burn that, like, had to reignite itself every couple of minutes.
Yes, that's a good way to phrase it for sure. Yeah.
So
I did feel like it was wheels.
yeah, I would say it's probably a 1 out of 5, like, safe containers. I don't know. I'm rolling with it here.
Safe containers mysteriously positioned under shitty apartments in Las Vegas.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like the shitty.
This looks like.
Confused how the jump got there, like what made Nick, like, because it starts with him like just noticing this guy got out of bail, and then he decides to figure out how he got out of bail. Like, I don't actually understand how Nicolas Cage found,
because he paid for it in cash.
And then he decides to trace it, and I don't know. Even the ending, like, I actually kind of liked the ending if you look at it in a vacuum.
Right.
But like with Elijah Wood's character.
Yeah.
Can I spoil?
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
So we spend, like, most of the film doing the break-in. Nicolas Cage reveals, like, guess what? We're actually not here to just find some evidence. We're going to take it and we're going to go to the Caribbean together. I bought you a ticket, man.
It's not drugs, it's diamonds. It's
diamonds.
Right.
They can just,
Yeah.
They can easily fence.
The light bulb goes off, and he's like, no, we can't do this. And he had found a gun earlier, so they get into a shootout, and he shoots, and he actually kills Nicolas Cage character. And Nicolas Cage character dies holding tickets to the Caribbean, and there are 2 of them.
Because he kind of didn't believe him and everything.
Nope, didn't believe it. He thought he was the fall guy.
Right.
So Elijah puts everything back, but he still has this live hostage, a woman, who's just called a woman. And throughout all of the break-in, she's in the bathroom, like, tied up. And at one point, she's like, I need to call my son. And Elijah Wood, being the sweet, doe-eyed, innocent cop, writes down the number and has her talk to someone on the phone. We don't actually hear the conversation. So he gets her into the car, and they're driving away, and they get on the highway, and the plan, it seems, is he's going to drop her off and just leave her and go. But then he notices these trucks kind of
following behind.
He notices that number on one of the trucks right ahead of him is the same number that the lady called. And before he can really do anything, the door opens and a guy pops up with a gun, and he starts to reach for his badge and goes like, wait, I'm a cop, and then gets shot. And that's kind of how it ends. I like that.
That's exactly how it ends, yeah.
Great cinema. There was no trust in the trust.
Exactly, no trust. And we have no idea who this lady was. What was this, a setup for them?
The secret mafia cleaner people.
Questions.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I'm not interested in answering those questions. Like, okay.
I am. That's my thing, is I want to know who this lady was. Why didn't they give this character a name?
There you go.
That is good.
All right. Well, while you guys are rolling, take your second Nick Cage movie.
We don't have one.
We don't have a second Nick Cage.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no. You're good then.
I can talk about Moonstruck, because that movie really stuck with me.
Oh, no, that's going to be my second movie, so we got
Never mind. I will not talk about Moonstruck.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jason, you got another one, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. So, as you guys may or may not have known, Marvel was supposed to come out with Black Widow this last weekend, and of course, due to COVID-19, could not. So I decided to watch the cross-section between Nicolas Cage and a Marvel movie, the first Ghost Rider.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So much PTSD.
It is a mess of a movie, and this is one where I do not give Nicolas Cage the benefit of the doubt, because this is, like, height Nicolas Cage, and, like, this is, like, the era of Marvel movies coming off the back of, like, horrible Spider-Man 3, horrible Daredevil, like
Fantastic Four.
so, yeah, like meh Fantastic Four, like so X-Men from Fox, like
Yeah.
nothing was like really exciting about being in a Marvel movie. And the first like 10 minutes, like in the true spirit of like early 2000s movies, like it's all garbage, but like the first 10 minutes where it's like the young Johnny Blaze character like making the deal with the devil, I am way more invested in the younger actor who plays this character for the 10 minutes that I saw him than the entire movie that Nicolas Cage was in the rest of. Nicolas Cage's part, like, takes forever to set up, by the way. Like, the first, like, 30 minutes is just him, like, looking at ramps and, like, jumping over ramps slowly. And, like,
This also reminded me...
Jumping over impossible... Like, he literally at one point jumps over a football field worth of 18-wheelers, and like it's just like a shot of his like visor, and you're seeing the 18-wheelers pass by. You're like, the ramp was the size of like my driveway. Like, there's no way he's like jumping that. And I don't know if this was like a bad directing, editing issue, or if this was just the way Nicolas Cage did it. But between every single shot, he literally ranges from like confused to sad to like overly excited to just like plain like weird. Like, he'll be like, what was that? Yeah! And it's just the weirdest fucking thing in the world.
Wow,
This movie, on top of the plot, just super dumb and super garbage. Like, Nicolas Cage does the blockiest, most, like, horrible job in the world, like, bringing any real life to a character.
Yeah.
So we just looked at who directed Ghost Rider, and they directed Daredevil.
Yep.
Yeah, of course they did.
Same guy.
Did he do Elektra too?
No, Electra was different.
Hey guys, look at his writing credits. Look what he wrote most recently. The director of Yes. What was his most recent writing credit? IMDb. It is amazing. It came out last year. It is a Disney film, and it is about everyone's favorite bear who looks like the president of China.
Winnie the Pooh.
He wrote Christopher Robin.
Oh no.
Maybe he found himself.
It's been 12 years. It had been 12 years since Ghost Rider.
It took him 5 years. The last movie he did before he was even involved in before Christopher Robin was in 2013.
So Jason, I got a question for you. So the way I look at Nicolas Cage and him playing Ghost Rider, I cannot escape the thought that he, once upon a time, was cast to be Superman back in the 90s when Tim Burton was picked to be the director, and it fell through. And he is notably a huge Superman fan.
He's always Superman, yeah.
He's always wanted to be Superman, and the closest he got is playing Superman in Teen Titans Go to the movies. And with Ghost Rider, I feel like 10 plus years after the Superman thing falls through, he desperately just wants to be in a comic book movie after he's seen the success with like the first 2 Spider-Man movies and all that. And he settled for Ghost Rider, and it kind of just falls apart. And it could be his performance, it could be the movie. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, I felt like he settled just to be in a comic book movie once everything else fell through.
So here's the other factors in that. So like, also remember that he had another failed attempt to be in a comic book movie. He was supposed to be in the defunct Batman Triumphant, which was the sequel to Batman and Robin, where he was supposed to play Scarecrow and Madonna would play Harley Quinn.
Yes.
Wow.
See that? Madonna, especially at that time.
I would totally been in that.
While I think you have a point that like he may have just been very desperate to get into a superhero movie, bear in mind at the time, so like Ghost Rider comes out in 2007, which means it starts filming, he's casted, whatever, probably around 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
You're talking like not anywhere near a height of superhero movie like desire or demand, but you're talking about like when like Spider-Man 2 is coming out, so like it's a budding genre, so I think it's something where he just saw a great intersection of like, this is something I'm interested in, and like here is an edgy character where I can like do it. Maybe like going for a big name like a Superman is just not gonna like fly, So, like, maybe we go something darker, something edgier. I think that was the risk he tried to take.
I was just looking at, like, dates for things. So Ghost Rider came out in 2007. 2005, we had Sin City, which is the graphic novel adaptation.
Nice.
And Ghost Rider, when it came out, was kind of Blade did it first, but, like, Ghost Rider was just, like, dark, a little bit edgier, a little bit more, this is a little more PG, leaning into that PG-13.
I can say one of the scenes.
His character doesn't drink. He literally has martini glasses filled with jelly beans.
Yeah, because they still had to keep into consideration, it's a Marvel film. We want. This isn't, this isn't a hard R. This is a soft PG-13.
Right.
We want all ages to show up here. And, like, considering, Nicolas Cage in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where he's, Spider-Man Noir, I kind of wonder if he felt a little, like, FOMO for not being part of, like, Sin City, because I could totally see him fitting into that world. I haven't read all of the graphic novels, so I don't know if there was a character he could have played, but he would have been aware of that production, and I
feel like he would have had an opportunity to be in Sin City 2, which was, a much more low-key thing. He definitely could have gotten in on that if he wanted that badly, kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe he felt he was past his prime on that one.
I think Mitch has a point where, like, he was probably trying to do something that crossed with a passion and just, like, fell so hard on its face, as a lot of those superhero movies did before, Marvel Studios formed and really, like, kind of, like, changed the contextual nature of superhero.
Yeah, because to your point, it was right after Spider-Man 3, and, like, basically there's that weird gap where it was the Spider-Man trilogy, and then it was kind of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're in that awkward, okay, sure.
But you had a couple bad X-Men movies in there. You had, like, some trial and errors with, like, Daredevil and Ghost Rider, and people are just like, this isn't working.
That's true.
You have V for Vendetta, and you've got 300, and you've got Sin City, which is kind of like the antithesis to these superhero films.
Sure, I would also argue any comic property that's not like a Marvel DC, like you're adapting something that has more substance to begin with. Like if you're gonna adapt like a Marvel or a DC character, like you're banking on like marketability over substance. Yeah. So like a V for Vendetta is not like comparable in my eyes.
I 100% agree.
Novel.
And guys, Road to Perdition, by the way, is based on a graphic novel. So it's
a Marvel graphic novel.
Oh, was it? I didn't know it was Marvel. Cool.
Also, Men in Black is technically Marvel too.
Oh, jeez. I did know that was a comic book, but I didn't know it was Marvel. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Remember Road to Perdition?
So, okay.
Oh, Road to Perdition.
Jill, let's talk Moonstruck, because I think he was not nominated for an Oscar for this film, but this was the film that came out after Raising Arizona in 1987, and it has one of my all-time favorite Nicolas Cage monologues. So a little backstory on this film for me personally. My mom is obsessed with this, and when I told Kelly that I was going to bring this up on the pod, Kelly said, I watched this movie with my mom way back in the day when I was like a kid or whatever. So we have now dubbed this a mom movie. So this is the mindset that I have of Moonstruck. It's a romantic comedy. Cher plays a starring role. She won an Oscar for this film, where she plays a woman at the beginning of the film who's set to marry this guy who has a younger brother played by Nicolas Cage. And there's this whole plot of whether or not Ronnie, who is Nicolas Cage's character, should go to the wedding. So Cher really wants, the entire family to be there. So she goes to where Ronnie works, which is a bakery. And one of the very first lines that we hear from Nicolas Cage is him delivering a monologue about how he lost his hand, and he blames his brother for losing his hand. And I'm just going to do a little reading here of this line. I lost my hand. I lost my bride. Johnny has his hand. Johnny has his bride. You want me to take my heartache, put it away and forget? It is all over the top. It is beautiful Nick Cage. It's like he is singing. And I will tell you, that monologue, before I knew who Nick Cage was when I was a kid and knew that he did other movies, that has stuck with me. It's imprinted in my head. And recently going back and revisiting it, I'm blown away. I'm just like, this is Nick Cage's wheelhouse. I could totally see him coming off a Coen Brothers movie and trying to deliver the same kind of energy with, tempered down to be more real world, but to live in this universe on Nick Cage's terms. And it still works, and it's still fun. And despite this guy who has a missing hand, like, after delivering this crazy-ass monologue, you believe over the course of this film that, yeah, Cher's going to fall in love with him. And so I dig this movie, and I really, really dig Nick Cage in it.
Yeah. I watched this a year and a half ago at this point. I was bored. I was over at my parents' house. I wanted something to watch. It was on Amazon Prime. All I knew was, isn't this the movie where Nicholas scores with Cher? So that was all we were going into it. And, I agree. He does a fantastic job. I actually think they have very good chemistry. And it kind of works but for the two of them, but she just kind of rolls off of his own craziness because she's still Cher, and her character is kind of this, frustrated with everything, but she kind of accepts her lot in life, but she's also not going to sit there and be quiet about it. It really works. I totally buy their relationship. And I actually never really considered Nicolas Cage to be sexy.
He pulls it off, doesn't he?
And he's missing a hand. And I think there was a 20-year age difference between him and Cher when they
I'd have to look it up. I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, you would actually never know. I'm not saying Cher. She's done things. She looks great, but they both kind of have this weird older than their years sense about them that just plays beautifully throughout the film. And it's good. I highly recommend this film if anyone has not seen it. It's fun. It's also just a nice slice of the 80s.
Absolutely. It's dripping in 80s nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. The hair is big. The shoulder pads are there. It's a fashion moment.
Absolutely. So I'm giving Nick Cage in this a personal Nick Cage rating for me. This might be my favorite Nick Cage because of everything that was just said that, Jill added on to. He's sexy. He delivers these crazy monologues, which is what you would expect. He helps carry the movie with Cher, and, Cher won an Oscar, but I think Nick Cage has the better performance. And I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Not the bees. And then for the film, it's a romantic comedy. I had a lot of fun. Good nostalgia for me. 3.5 out of 5. Pizza pies. That's Moray. That's my rating.
Yeah.
Mike, you were next.
Yes, my next movie is called The Frozen Ground. The Frozen Ground was interesting. It's on Hulu. What I will say about the movie is the plot itself is kind of all over the place. It's based on a true story. There was a serial killer in Alaska, killed 17 people. The cast for this movie was excellent. The main trooper, the Alaskan state trooper, is obviously Nick Cage. He works with Dean Norris, who played Hank on Breaking Bad. As well as you've got John Cusack is the serial killer. They call him the Baker Butcher in real life. And then Vanessa Hudgens is the prostitute that got away. So he was killing prostitutes. He would take them, saying they were doing a photo shoot, and he would basically chain them up, take them to a cabin in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness, shoot them dead, leave them in the middle of the frozen ground. And the whole tension comes from the prostitute that Vanessa Hudgens plays is scared to testify against him. And doesn't want to, is constantly running away, constantly, being flaky. And basically, she could put him away for rape no matter what. They feel confident about that because she can say, hey, he raped me, boom. That was definitely proven. The reason they needed her is because her testifying gave them reason to look for evidence and get a warrant and that kind of stuff. The reason I like this movie, because overall it was just okay. The movie itself I give about 2.5 out of 5 frozen, like, glaciers. Huh?
Hookers.
Yes, sure. I'll give it 2.5 because it is an interesting story, but at the same time, like, it's kind of one note. The reason I like this, though, is it was a very subdued Nick Cage performance. It's not over the top. There's really only one scene where he goes all over, and it kind of makes sense. They have John Cusack in the interrogation room, and he goes bad cop on him. But it's not the Nick Cage of, like, you murdered her, you raped her, blah, blah, blah. Like that. It was just more so like, where did you get this? Where did you find this? Like, it's a little more... It's subdued. Like I said, it's a little more realistic in the fact that he could actually have played a state trooper in this. And so it's a very slow burn. It's not like you hear a serial killer. It's not going to be like an action serial killer movie. It tries to be kind of like Seven or like Zodiac, that kind of thing, where it's like slower stuff. Not a whole lot happens, but it's more the drama of it. But as I said, Nick Cage is great in it. He's kind of subdued, and he just is not a parody of himself. So overall, I would say Nick Cage has made this movie better. And I'm trying to keep this short because the next one I'm going to talk about, I know I'm going to rant. So, yes, the next one is a fun one, let me tell you. So, Jason will go... Huh?
Tell us.
Oh, well, wait. You got a third one to talk about, buddy.
I do have a third one. So, let me start this off by pointing out, I watched Ghost Rider first in this whole, like, sequence, which it started bad, then went to, like, hoping for National Treasure, ended up with National Treasure 2, so, like, not great. I was really hoping to end on a strong note with one of the best action heist movies of all time, like, still lives up to this day in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes.
However, I thought I could stream it for free. Turns out I had to rent it for money, and I figured, well, if I'm going to pay money, I'm not going to watch a movie that I've already seen a bunch of times. So instead we rented the movie Primal with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this is a garbage movie.
Oh boy.
But it is also 100% the reason that Nicolas Cage will be playing Joe Exotic.
Okay.
I'm on board.
Right? So this is like, I don't even know if you could call it a B movie. It could be a C movie. But it is basically Snakes on a Plane.
Okay.
Nicolas Cage plays a, like, hunter who, like, used to work at zoos. I think he said he, like, worked at 8 zoos over 10 years. So clearly, like, not good. He, like, the movie starts, he has been in, like, the Brazilian rainforest for 10 months hunting a jaguar. And, like, comes across this, like, one-of-a-kind, like, white jaguar. And manages to capture it and puts it on a boat. For some reason, on the same boat, the NSA is transporting, like, a former Marine who, like, went off and, like, killed people or something.
Oh, God.
Back to America to stand trial.
Okay.
Sure enough, this guy is played by Kevin Durand, like, not Kevin Durant, Kevin Durand, who, like, I couldn't tell you what role he's played in various movies, but, like, if you saw this guy's face, you'd be like, oh my God, I know that guy.
It should have been Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie also stars, like, Famke Jensen, like, from the X-Men series, but she literally spends most of the movie just, like, sitting in a room kind of thing. And then, like, Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos is in there as, like, the NSA officer, and his character literally makes no sense, but I'll get to that in a second. So the whole plot of the movie is they're on this boat, and of course, like, Kevin Durant, the murderer, like, escapes, starts killing people, and frees all of the animals, or a bunch of the animals, that Nicolas Cage had brought on the boat, including, like, 2, like, incredibly venomous snakes, and the jaguar. and it's a whole just basically like they're trying to capture this guy, and he ends up killing all of them. And Michael Imperioli is like, I need to bring him back alive. Like, he has to stand trial. And literally, there's a guy at one point who has like the bad guy in his sights, and Michael Imperioli just like casually stabs him through the back of the head, kind of thing.
What?
It's just like, I need to bring him alive. Like, that's his entire arc. But in terms of Nicolas Cage, it's not good, but it's very consistent. The entire movie, his character has like one plot point, or not plot point, one id that like powers his character spine, and that's he just doesn't like authority. Literally, the entire movie is him just going like, I don't need to listen to you. That's a jag. And that's his entire
Wow.
like, it's not a panther, it's a jag.
Oh,
And
God.
I don't need to listen to you, I don't take orders.
Yeah, this sounds like an award-winning movie.
But again, he plays essentially a Joe Exotic type figure thrown into like a Marine snakes on a plane situation.
Snakes on a boat.
Kinda.
Okay.
And I would give it like, and like also the cinematography is horrendous. Like, whoever colored this movie is should be fired immediately. Like, everything is literally one of 3 colors. Yeah, it's awful. I would give this 1 spot on a white Jaguar out of 5 Jaguars.
Dang.
Ouch.
That hurts.
What's the math on that? That sounds like a very low score.
It's a very low score. I'll give it $6 or negative $6 because that's how much I paid to rent it.
I dig it.
Mitchell, you have one more?
I do. And it is from 1997. And speaking of snakes on a plane, I see that movie, and I raise you with cons on a plane. It is Con Air. It is one of a long stretch in the 90s when Nicolas Cage decided, you know what, I got my Oscar, I'm good to go, I'm going to make some bank and star in some action movies. And to be honest, in hindsight, this may have been him trying to get into shape to be a Superman type.
Okay.
And he definitely gets pretty jacked up in this movie too. And I'm not saying steroids or anything, but the guy is pulling out the action star look. For those who have not turned on TBS in the past 20 years, Con Air is the story that is about, as you would expect from the title, they're a big plane filled with people who are in jail and are hijacking their way off this plane. Anyway,
it's always on TBS.
It is always on TBS, which is probably how I watched maybe 60% of this movie periodically growing up. But this is a movie that I think knows what it is. So it's an over-the-top action movie, late 90s, kind of my era in terms of the type of action that we're seeing. There's lots of fire, lots of explosion. Nothing is subtle here. And it's everything from even the casting choices. John Cusack is here. Mike, so it sounds like a reunion with Cusack and Cage.
They love each other.
Yeah, I guess they do. John Malkovich plays the villain, so that's a lot of fun. And Ving Rhames is also here, as well as a very young Dave Chappelle. And I completely do not see that scene before, but he is very much on the plane when they say welcome to Con Air. So I'm like, oh crap, there he is. So I'm a fan of the movie. It's fun. The thing that I find interesting about Nicolas Cage is that this definitely, in my eyes, defines a certain moment in his filmography where, like I said before, he's pretty much settled in terms of reaching the heights of acting and getting that Best Actor Oscar, and he decides to cash that check and just go into these big action movies. And I think he actually pulls them up. It's not any of these things where he's out here screaming monologues about missing his hand anymore. It's more, he is fitting into this role of being an action star. And I think it works. He is a lot of fun. It's not like he completely drains himself of any personality that we've come to know him as over, the previous 10, 15 years of his career. And this is just a fun movie. This is a fun movie that knows what it is. Nicolas Cage does exactly what he needs to do. He flexes his muscles. He cuddles a little, stuffed bunny rabbit, which is kind of like a thing throughout the movie. Anyway, it's just a fun, mid-afternoon on a Sunday kind of watch. If you have nothing to do, flip that thing on. 2 hours are going to go by like that. Turn off your brain. It's a good time.
Nice.
Now, typically, I don't watch those kind of movies, but when the action is as fun and over the top as it is here, you just got to sink your teeth into it. So I do want to end on this, because this whole thing is Nick Cage a good actor? Let me read you this quote that I come across in research. I'm kind of obsessed with Nick Cage. He's the only actor since Marlon Brando that's actually done anything new with the art of acting. He's successfully taken us away from an obsession with naturalism into a kind of presentation style of acting that I imagine was popular with the old troubadours. That man who said that was one Ethan Hawke, 4-time Oscar nominee.
Wow.
That was in an interview back in 2013, and in that lens, am I saying Nick Cage is one of my favorite actors? Absolutely not. And do I enjoy seeing him on screen? Kind of depends on the movie. And that's what I've come to realize. I think he is a good actor. I think he is really good at that one thing, and that is going over the top and maniacal, is having the right direction or the right project to express that side of himself in is what matters here. So I think he is a good actor. He may not be a chameleon. He's not Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm not saying that, but he is entertaining. And that is part of being a film actor. And you can say the same thing about Marlon Brando. He is, he lights up the screen and he makes choices, just the way Nicolas Cage makes choices. Mm-hmm. And this whole obsession with naturalism part, I think, is carried on in the tradition of younger guys like Ryan Gosling, who is a very internal actor, who's one of my favorite actors. But I could totally see that as the antithesis of a guy like Nick Cage, who people love to shit on because of, a string of awful movies that he's been a part of. But maybe it's not always his fault. It's just he's being used in the wrong way, and the dude's, let's face it, desperate for money. So I'm very excited to see him as Joe Exotic. I can't wait to see it. And, after this little exercise we've gone through, I think he is a good actor. Not saying he's great. I think he is a good actor who makes choices. And sometimes that's all I'm asking for, is someone to actually make something entertaining out of nothing, breathe some life into a project. And Nicolas Cage will do that. So I am pro Nick Cage as far as this podcast goes.
Pro Nick Cage.
So my friends and I have for our Twitter feed that we do, we've watched enough bad movies that we've kind of, you start to see the same phases popping up. And I coined like a saying where it's just like it needs a little bit of curry, as in Tim Curry. Doesn't matter how bad the movie is.
What about Steph?
No comment. This is 100% in reference to Tim Curry. And I'm not trying to say that Tim Curry is like Nicolas Cage. They are very different actors. However, similar to in what you're saying that, if he's going to be in something, you still kind of want to watch it. There is a certain something that they bring to the film. They lift it up. It doesn't matter if the production is bad, if the writing and pacing is horrible. It's let them loose, and in whatever we're going to end up with, at least for those 5, 10, 15 minutes worth of time, it's fun, or at least interesting.
Absolutely. And I think we saw even a couple moments like that in The Trust. Like certain line deliveries, I'm like, oh, that is a weird way to say those words.
Or that montage where he's infiltrating the whatever it is, where he's, being chummy with the people at the casino or wherever we, see him hanging with them, and getting in on it. Like, that is fun. Like, he's a physical actor too.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just he brings a little curry to the thing.
A little curry.
Well, then I'll finish it with a terrible one.
Bring it down.
We're gonna talk about Next. If you know nothing about Next, he plays Chris Johnson. Which is the
running back?
No, the most terrible name for an action hero ever. Who also
running back. It's so bad.
Yeah, and he's also a magician that has a show where he's Frank Cadillac. That's his stage name. Because of his two favorite things, Frankenstein and Cadillacs.
Wow.
Fun.
Yeah. So what Chris Johnson can do is he can see in the future 2 minutes ahead as long as it affects him personally. And then he can change things so that it doesn't affect him in certain ways. The only thing he has seen longer than 2 minutes is Jessica Biel at this diner. And so every day he goes to this diner to see her to try to figure out why. Also, Julianne Moore is in it as an FBI agent that is trying to use him to stop a nuclear bomb from hitting Arizona. Because that's how you do it. Basically, one of the things that happens is he kind of, like, the only scene I actually liked in this movie was when he was actually at the diner and he kind of went through these scenarios to talk to Jessica Biel. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, he struck out in that one, so he's not going to do that one. Okay, he did well in this one, so he's going to do that. Like that kind of stuff. And that was kind of a fun little scene. But at the same time, they don't understand how long 2 minutes is. Because that scene...
Nice.
Uh-oh.
The Dragon Ball Z 2 minutes?
It's like a Dragon Ball Z 2 minutes, where it's like...
Are they screaming at the top of their lungs?
No.
Is that what you meant, Andre?
No.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Got some veins throbbing on the forehead.
So, like, they'll have 2 minutes that last for, like, 6 minutes, and then they'll have 2 minutes that last for, like, a minute. And it's kind of like, okay, what? That kind of stuff. Basically convinces Jessica Biel to drive him to Flagstaff. They get stuck, so they have to stay at a hotel. Obviously fall in love right away, have sex, and then these events happen where he sees the future again, and Jessica Biel gets abducted by the terrorists, strapped to a bomb vest, and gets blown up. And so he's trying to prevent that from happening so that he can figure out why he sees her, like, in the future more than 2 minutes. And then Julianne Moore is trying to use him to try to figure out where this nuclear bomb is. The end of the movie is what I'm going to talk about, because he saves Jessica Biel. They are standing at the edge of this building, and he goes, "Oh no, I made a mistake." And Julianne Moore's like, "What? You made a mistake?" He goes, "I made a mistake." Grabs Jessica Biel. Nuclear bomb goes off.
Oh, okay.
And then he ends up back in bed with Jessica Biel. It was all a dream.
Oh,
And so,
They did that?
so he calls Julianne Moore's character and goes, "I will help you. You just have to leave her out of it."
Oh my god.
And
the
then,
last, like, half of the movie is not actually...
yeah.
Okay.
And basically he tells Jessica Biel, like, "I will come back for you, whether it's weeks or a month or whatever. I will find you. I just need to do this." And then credits roll.
That is the cheapest ending of all time.
It's terrible.
Jesus, I'm pissed off.
There is a way to do that fake out look at Jacob's Ladder. I'm not going to spoil it, but
You
like...
know, you just did, but...
No, but I'm not saying what happened.
Literally just did.
Yeah.
Pretty much
I
did.
don't know what the ending of Jason's Ladder is.
Or have I? There are ways to do this plot
Wait,
device.
Mitchell, did you say
very
Jason's
well.
Ladder? Hold up. I think you
I
said...
heard Jason's Ladder.
Cinematic classic, Jason's Ladder.
Wait, what ladder are we talking about?
Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob-
Oh, I've never heard of this. I've never
Oh my
heard of
god.
this.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you like horror, check out Jacob's Ladder. It inspired pretty much a lot of Silent Hill, the video game.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic film.
I've never seen a scarier thing than Andre, is that the Silent Hill 2 or something like that? Or
You talking about E.T.? The
Yes.
hallway game? Yeah, that's either for Silent Hill's game.
So
Yes.
Jacob's Ladder is
Scary.
more the OG Silent Hill. So like Silent Hill 1 and 2. Mostly 1. But it's just a fantastic film. It's got a really good
Tim Robbins is in this shit.
yeah.
Yes.
What are we talking about? Oh, yeah, the ending. Right, okay.
Anyway, I'm just saying there's a good way to do this plot device, and it infuriates me when it's just like everything you just watched for the last hour, 45 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter.
I immediately messaged our group and was just like, I have this passion of fiery sun for how much I hated this. Like, I was so pissed off at this movie. Plus, it's just, Nick Cage is bored the entire movie. It's not, he's just walking through it. And so this is the only movie, because I'll spoil it, I have him as a good actor. This is the only movie that made me sit here going like, maybe he isn't a good actor. But, alright.
He needed money, he needed it really badly.
Yeah, maybe.
In a word, good, bad actor. You have to say good or bad. We'll go Jill and Andre.
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason.
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute for a second. I can only say good or bad.
Only say good or bad.
Good.
Tone is enough.
That's a lead good.
Yeah.
That's a lead
Dot.
So you would say like middle of the road probably?
I would say he has the capability to be good.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Situational at this point.
And then Mitchell, you said good?
He's influenced by the quality of work that he's in, but he also has the capability to be very bad.
Yes.
Pick an era of Nicolas Cage. It's a moving target on good or bad.
True. Mitchell, you would say good?
Nicolas Cage as an actor, good. Nicolas Cage as a filmography, not good. So overall. But Nick Cage as an actor,
Yeah,
good.
praise it. Okay, sure.
We take your
Yes.
first word because I said in a word. So,
Yep, good.
and then I'm saying good. So that is our Cage Match episode of Game for a Movie. Thank you.
Like he made it on top.
Yeah.
He made it out pretty okay.
He made it out all right. Yeah, we'll have to find another thing for us to do for our next episode if we're still going to be in quarantine. But thank you guys for stopping by. Jason, thank you for being our special guest and watching all those Nick Cage movies / coming up with a cast.
Yeah, it's been a rough week.
Yeah.
Dude, $6 for Primal. That's rough.
God.
We'll have to get something better. But thank you guys.
You can flatter. You can delete that.
Dude,
Well,
I
it can't-
just watched the trailer. It looks amazing.
It's amazing.
It's really good.
It's really, really good.
I'm just saying though, I can delete it from the podcast. I can't delete it from my mind.
Yes. That's
Well, I
unfortunate.
guess you're just gonna have to watch the film to see what all the hullabaloo is about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Well, thank you guys very much. This was Game for a Movie, where we ask, are you game for a movie?